Hello, my name is John Turner. I am the Manager of Community Development and Research at the Nebraska Investment Finance Authority, otherwise known as NIFA. The Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, also known as the CARES Act, is a $2.2 trillion economic stimulus bill passed by Congress and signed into law by President Trump on March 27, 2020, in response to the economic fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic. NIFA is conducting interviews with Nebraska agencies who are the recipients of this funding and providing housing resources. Understanding the timing of this funding and the numerous people in Nebraska that need help, NIFA wants to share these valuable resources via our social media platforms. And today we are joined by Susanne Blue, the Executive Director of Matt Talbot Kitchen and Outreach, and she's here to talk about how Matt Talbot has expanded their services in Lincoln with these dollars. So welcome, Susanne.
Thanks for having me. I'm
Sure.
good. Yeah.
So I know Susanne as Susie, so is it okay if I call you Susie today?
It sure is, yeah.
Very good. Well, thanks again for doing this. Usually, I was telling you before we got this started that this is the 8th of these CARES conversations that we've had. And I've been learning a lot about what's going on throughout Nebraska, but maybe for those that don't know, can you talk a little bit about what Matt Talbot is?
Sure. Matt Talbot is in Lincoln. We're a community kitchen and outreach center. We serve primarily the working poor and homeless of Lincoln. And we do that through a variety of means. We provide 2 meals every day, 365 days a year. We have a housing, an array of housing programs from sober living and transitional housing to permanent supportive housing, and now through the CARES support a rapid rehousing project. We have substance use counseling and pre-treatment and education around addiction disorders. We provide many basic needs to our homeless population through our outreach program. We are a mailing address. We have showers and laundry services on site. And then during the summer months, we did quite a lot. Our kitchen during the pandemic has stayed open, providing modified services all throughout. Our meals are to go, so we've been doing that for several months. We put some outside seating. We have a pretty nice green space on our property on North 27th Street. And so we put out picnic tables, and we brought in porta potties and a hand washing station and several things like that to try and meet those needs of the unsheltered homeless. And then in November, we had a partial reopening of our dining room. We had plexiglass made for the tables in the dining room, and we can seat 4 people to a table, just kind of like what the schools are doing. So we have a maximum capacity of 32. And we did that because, of course, the weather was changing, and we didn't have the option for folks to sit outside anymore. And we're really targeting our unsheltered, the truly homeless folks with the ability to come inside out of the cold and have a meal with us. So that's kind of the majority of what we do. A little bit of this and that, but we try and be as comprehensive as we can for those who are experiencing homelessness or at risk.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's amazing how you've adapted. Susie and I have talked over the last few months about the challenges, and I know you had a big event that you were going to have in March, and just all of us, how we had to shift. But the one thing also, when I hear you talking, we've also been curious about asking shelters, how have you adapted to this? So I'm glad you brought that up about having to reduce the size, first starting with outdoor dining and then still offering services inside. But yeah, so kudos to you and your team for hanging in there.
It's been a lot. I mean, just we go through a lot of masks, a lot of sanitizer. We have to take temperatures of folks coming in. So it's just all those modifications now, but we just didn't close one day for this because our services are vital to people in need. So
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about, here we find out about this massive amount of money that's coming to Nebraska. And I've learned, like I said, about different agencies that have done rent assistance and mortgage assistance. Maybe we could start by the hotel motel and how that changed what you do and how you kind of worked within Lincoln's homeless system to help those folks.
Sure. Definitely having to get creative, but this pandemic has caused a lot of us to think outside of the box. And in early May, we worked with the United Way and the Nebraska Children and Families Foundation to put individuals coming from the coordinated entry list of homeless individuals into hotels. So we did that and we're still, ended up being about 40 households, some single and some families. And the whole goal, though, was to put them in hotels temporarily to reduce the overcrowding at the emergency shelters and provide a safe place for individuals during this time of the pandemic and such. But there was also an opportunity that we would be able to bridge them, those individuals, into permanent housing with some of the federal funds that were coming to our community. And that has indeed happened. Then in probably late summer, we got a word of that. And so then we started working with some other agencies. We have some partner agencies, Community Action, Friendship Home, Cedar, Centerpoint, where we're actually taking those individuals and moving them rapidly into permanent housing. And the agencies that we're involved with are pretty much providing the case management for individuals that we're serving, and we're helping to find the housing through our landlord liaison project, and also then the rental assistance for up to 6 months is being provided through the grant for Matt Talbot.
That's excellent. And then the rapid rehousing, though, is in addition, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
We hadn't done a hotel motel project before, and we hadn't done rapid rehousing. We were and have been for almost 5 years done permanent supportive housing for chronically homeless with a housing first model. And that project has been expanded to assist about 10 more households. And we're doing that now. But yes, rapid rehousing was a whole new, program for us. And the individuals that we're serving might not have as high a need as some of the more chronically homeless folks that we serve. So, but it was just an opportunity that came to Lincoln. It came to many communities across the nation, and so we have to make hay because now's the time. The biggest challenge that we find is really finding appropriate housing, though. So now we have the resources, but just not enough safe, affordable housing to meet all the needs.
Yeah, and that is good. And so the funding was through HUD's Emergency Solutions Grant, right? Through the city. I think that's.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's kind of confusing. I mean, the city, yes, their Emergency Solutions Grant coronavirus funding, and then HUD separately expanded our Housing First project, but they're different pots of funding, I guess.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm glad you brought up the units because that's come up on other interviews that I've done, the challenge of finding rental units. And you guys have something that a lot of people don't have, and that's this landlord liaison project. You know, some people have heard of landlord liaisons or housing liaisons. And I know that that's been successful, and that really was perfect that you had that going because you already built relationships. So are you saying that it's, even though you've got those great relationships, it's still a challenge finding rental units in Lincoln?
Yes, even though we do have those relationships and we've been working towards this for several years now, just the inventory is not up to what, what the need is. So still working towards building relationships with landlords or property managers, really putting it out there to just about anyone who will listen, even if you have one or two properties, if you would want to work with us to house people who have experienced homelessness. The Landlord Liaison Project offers some good incentives. We will partner with landlords or property managers, through 24/7 response to critical issues that come up, guaranteed rent. There is a bit of a contingency built in where if there are damages or things like that cause issues, problems for the landlord, will work to mitigate those risks. And really about being accountable, like answering the calls when the landlords make them, with a concern about a client. We have expanded that project as well through a partnership with Family Service. Family Service got additional ESG coronavirus funds. They got the second round of funding for that, and they are assisting with more housing, rapid rehousing for families and individuals in Lincoln. And that project has allowed us to bring on another full-time housing locator. So now we'll have two. Which is a big expansion. And I mean, we had one person and the need was great. And then this opportunity became available to all of us. So we've just hired him. He just started about 2 weeks ago.
Wow,
So
awesome.
hopefully that will help. But
Yeah,
we need more affordable housing though in our community. It's got to
yes,
be somewhere, developed.
right.
Yeah.
Yep, and we've talked about that. The Lincoln Homeless Coalition and Susie and myself and Brian Sack, who a lot of people know, we all kind of worked together and wrote up a plan. But that is something definitely that's needed. But all the things you brought up are so important. The fact that there's a response to a landlord, like you said, 24/7, that there's rent assistance. I mean, when you hear that stuff, it's like, why would a landlord not want to work with us? So that's great to hear. And I'm going to do a little plug for our housing.ne.gov. I bet you that your housing locators probably used that website. And that's recently had a facelift. So some new resources, you can use that on your tablet or on your phone. And it looks great. And so we just had a webinar about that last week. And so we're really encouraging landlords to put their units on there because it's free. It's free for the tenant to use. It's free for case managers. It's free for landlords. So all that works out well together. I guess when you say rapid rehousing, permanent housing, you are providing a security deposit and rental assistance, ongoing rental assistance.
That's correct. And for rapid rehousing, that's for up to 6 months.
Okay.
And that's what was budgeted. So that becomes the challenge because we still have some people in hotels. And hotel funding, as wonderful as it was to meet that immediate need, to shelter the unsheltered, it's very expensive to put people in hotels. So that money, and there was about $150,000 in all, is gone. And now we have to go into the rental assistance. So what's, the more we spend to keep them safely sheltered while we find appropriate housing, the less that they will have for their, rental assistance ongoing. So even more, the critical need for finding access to affordable housing. But that, we plan for about 30 households. We've served over 40, and we're down to 5 or 6 that are still in hotels, but the rest have a housing plan and are moving on. So it's been a success, but it's been a challenge too.
Yeah, that sounds, again, it sounds like you've done well. That the word that comes up a lot during these times is pivot, and how everybody had to pivot.
Yeah.
And
Working with a lot of great organizations that are serving the homeless, just trying to communicate. We have not closed our office door, so our case management is working more virtual or remote, but they also have in-person weekly meets with clients, just because some of our clients don't have a way to connect virtually. And so, of course, we have to be safe and mitigate all the risks with that. But that's been important to us. I think, we just lose some things when we just, don't ever have any face-to-face meetings with people. So we've been working on that. And ironically, you can do a lot with a smartphone too. So we're able to communicate that way as well.
Very good. Yeah, I mean, I know what it's like for us at NIFA communicating, for the folks of us, the group of us that work virtually. But I was a social worker for years, and I can't imagine not having that face to face. So I'm sure people had to get used to it. But now we're getting used to talk to each other like this. Mm-hmm. So it's nice if people have a smartphone or have a way to communicate. Well, I mean, I think you pretty much covered everything that I thought we could share with folks. How about maybe website or ways people can reach out to you?
Sure. You can reach us on our website at mtko.org. Another person who is Amanda Owen Dorr, who is doing our homeless diversion program, which is meant to divert people from experiencing homelessness. She is working a lot with coordinated entry and helping to do housing assessments and help people get on that housing list, or identify appropriate referrals for them when needed. So between our website, mtko.org, and Amanda Owen Dorr, that would be a good way to reach us. We are open 7 days a week if anybody has a need for food. There are to-go meals, hot, well-balanced, nutritious meals, and anyone is welcome.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for the work that you do, and Matt Talbot and all the staff. I've always been a big fan, and I'm glad you took the time out today so I could interview you. And this will be on, we'll put this on our Facebook and on YouTube, so people will have a chance to see it, and we'll try to help promote the great work that you do.
Well, thanks a lot, John, and thanks for all you do.